Hi everyone, welcome back to the Red Path. My name's Jack. This is episode 11 of WAAC Weekly, just a show where we look at Team Red Path news as well as how World Eater's doing out in tournaments. So, starting off with the tournament roundup as per usual. Quiet weekend last weekend. Some come down from the LVO, I guess, and then also to a certain extent pre-orders. People were busy with pre-orders, I would think. We've done a lot of content on who got what, how much we got over the last weekend. There is more content coming around that, so stay tuned. I feel like fewer tournaments just because everyone was doing pre-orders. So there were only 25 games this weekend. So just 2 GTs, a 2 and 3 and a 1 and 4, and then 5 RTTs. So 2 2-1s and 3 1 and 2s. Closing out Index World Eaters as we began, around a 40% win rate. Fairly standard. Bit of a bump on the last, maybe not LVO, but like the weeks before that. Bit of a bump on that, but yeah. Next week, I'm not really expecting there to be any games, if many, because who wants to play World Eaters when the new Codex is brand new on the day? Don't know. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I'm not expecting too much next week. So it might be a very short episode next week. And this is already going to be a short one this week because 25 games and 2 good performances. So I guess we'll just jump straight in. So Team Red Path news. Nothing that I can see. Again, let me know if I've missed you. Let me know. I've been hampered. I think I've worked out a way to track people anyway. If you put Team Red Path in, but I've been hampered by rankings being hidden for the last. At this point, it was a week and a half, but they came on did last Friday, so I can do it going forwards now. So in terms of tournament performances, there were a couple, as I mentioned. There was a couple of RTTs that people went 2 and 1 at, which is some strong performances. Okay, so let's get on to just World Eaters tournament performances then. There are a couple of people that went 2 and 1 in RTTs mentioned. A couple of strong performances. And we will start with Ken Purvis. He's in the Discord. I can't remember his name. He changed it. It used to be Cerebral. So he was at the Moxie's 40k RTT, an 18-player event in Georgia, USA. Finished 6th, having gone 2 and 1. Had two strong wins against Imperial Knights, and then a loss against Space Wolves, which kind of fine. In Index World Eaters, we didn't have too much to get around and fight last, barring just charge fucking everything at them. So we'll just take a quick look through his list. Abaddon, no Warlord traits, but Abaddon, fair. 2 squads Cultist for back line or screening, general stuff. So 4 squads of 7 Berserkers. Okay. Points, I'm assuming. A squad of the newly pointed Terminators with Red Butchers, Black Rune, a Chain Fist, 3 Power Fists, a couple of Melters. Yeah, so I think there's 8 in that squad. Yeah, there are 8 in that squad. Good to see they're not completely dead. That is very expensive now, though. That's, yeah, very expensive for that. 8, 350. Yeah, that's very expensive. Which is why I've been hesitant on Terminators. And I think, I don't know. The discussion rages in the Discord about whether or not Terminator is going to be good into our new book, but we can get onto that at the end. Master of Executions with Violent Urgency, so to buff presumably the Berserkers coming out of the 2 drop pods, or the drill. So there's 4 squads of Berserkers, there are 2 drop pods, there's a Rhino and there's a drill. I'm imagining there's a squad of Berserkers in each. And then depending on matchup, the Master of Execution goes in one of the drop pods or the Termite. Abaddon might even go in Deep Strike to buff. You can null deploy a lot of this army because drop pods don't count towards strat reserves, I don't think. So you put the Master of Executions, 2 squads of Berserkers in the drop pods. Maybe put the Terminators and and Abaddon in Deep Strike. That's like Yeah, maybe. Let me know, Ken, if you watch this, which you may not. Let me know, because that'd be quite funny if that is a thing. Yeah, null deploys maybe the answer to shooty armies. Solve the guard meta already with the null deploy, maybe. So yeah, as I say, Ken finished 6th out of 18 at an 18-player RTT in Georgia. 2-1, nice way to close out the Codex index. Yeah, good job. Next up is a familiar name to anyone who has watched the show recently. Alastair MacNicol had a strong performance a few weeks back at a roundtable event as well, and this time it was the February ITC tournament, a 22-player RTT in Toronto in Canada. So he went 2-1 as well, finished 11th of 22, with wins against Black Legion, which is pretty good, and Admech, which newly resurgent apparently, maybe, but I'm not sure how many people have the skill to play them now without or the brain power, I guess, to play them now without the fly spam that was kind of propping them up pre-data slate, before they got like nerfed into the ground. And then there's been successive waves of like unnerfing them, but the planes are still limited by the same rules as everyone else. So, yeah, and his loss was to Guard, which is the new menace potentially. But I think there's an element. So I know that people have been saying that Guard haven't been doing that well recently. I think there's an element of hobby lag to that, and also the Kazakin have only just gone on pre-order. And the Kazakin bomb is the thing that is scaring people, I think, and that's maybe not been as prevalent as it otherwise would have been if the models had been more readily available. But I don't know. I have not followed Guard as closely as I potentially should have. And I imagine I will have a very steep learning curve the first time I play them. So, same with Votan, because I've still not played Votan either yet. Yeah, so let's have a look at his list. Abaddon, again, without Warlord traits. Zal on a Demon Prince. Yeah, it's a big beat stick. Gorge it in Flames of Spite Disco Lord. Again, great combo. Loads of mortal wounds and also really hard to kill. Strikes the balance quite nicely, I think. One squad of cultists. One, two. So squads of 5 berserkers. There's a plasma pistol in there, presumably because point. Although he hasn't paid for it. Or is that the Batscribe bug? I don't know. What? Why is that 115? 115, 110. I don't know what's gone on there. That's weird. That's some Battlescribe glitching. Because those squads should all be 150 points. Anyway, Possessed Bomb. Yeah, fair enough. Possessed Bombs are probably for Index World Eaters. Possessed Bombs, I would say, are the way to go. When I was contemplating playing a game with Index World Eaters and Arcs, Possessed Bomb was where I went. I pivoted off Abaddon and... Did I pivot off Abaddon? I think I pivoted off Abaddon and definitely pivoted off Terminators. Couple of individual Spawn, 2 Rhinos, and a Night Despoiler. Interesting. So, I'm actually going to have to look at what some of this stuff does. Blessing of Dark Master. I know what that is. So it's a big anti-tank gun with a melter gun, big sword. Blessing of the Dark Master is, so the base one is no rerolls to hit or wound against it, or damage potentially. And then as soon as he does, kills models with a combined total of 10 wounds, I think, he gets transhumed to hit. That is a nice additional, and also it's like some big anti-tank, big anti-tank and a sort of distraction card effects, I guess. Well, not really distraction card effects, because it will fucking kill you if you don't kill it. But it'll soak up a lot of firepower, I think, for the Rhinos to get forwards with the Berserkers in, and the Possessed to get forwards, and Abaddon to get forwards, and the Disco Lord to get forwards, and the Demon Prince to get forwards. So yeah, I think against most lists that aren't Guard, very solid list. Like, Guard seem to have the shooting to just pick stuff up though, so that is potentially explains his defeat there. Yeah, so in terms of, as I said, this is going to be a short one just because there was only 2 lists to really look at. In terms of wrap up, I think uh, we obviously are in the dying days of Index Hammer. We have Codex on pre-order. If you haven't pre-ordered it yet, do. I know some of the collector's editions were pretty competitive, like sold out within the first 5 minutes. But the normal editions are about. If you're in the UK, definitely order from Element Games. I don't know how their stock's holding up at the moment. I haven't looked since Saturday, but the tip that I got told by one of their customer service reps was don't order the Arcs of Omen Angron book alongside your World Eaters order because the Arcs of Omen Angron book they got limited stock, and that was pushing the whole order date back, like dispatch date back. So fortunately, he was able to split mine into 2 orders, which means I'm hopefully getting all my World Eaters stuff on the 11th, so on release day, which is good because I have a tournament on the 18th, which I'll go into in a sec. I think there's lots to be excited about with the new Codex. Internet reaction to the embargo lift and sort of the whole Codex, really, or all the rules in the Codex at least, has been, I would say, fairly mixed, like to say the least. It's mostly been fairly negative, or not necessarily negative, just like we won't be that good. Has been a lot of the reaction, I'd say. There have been some exceptions. Tabletop Tactics have said, based on their reading, that will be really good. I'm not sure I necessarily agree, like really strong, like getting nerfs imminently kind of strong, but I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. We are a combat army after all, and however good Blood Tithe is, and however fast Angron is with his good stat line and the fact that we can res him, we are a combat army. We are a one-phase army. There are some counters to us, I think. So, yeah, I don't think I necessarily agree with that. So, some of the, and that's sort of where the mid-tier stuff has come from, is that we won't be that good into guard necessarily, and Votann and Tau potentially. Tau less so now, but Votann and guard are particular concerns for us, like getting there. And I think we'll be heavily terrain dependent. There has also been a notable emphasis on 8-bound. And I know a lot of people have bought a lot of 8-bound or a lot of 8-bound boxes. And I would say, if you love the models, great. If you're expecting to put 27 8-bound down on the table and auto win games, please don't. Don't spend that much money on that many 8-bound, because I don't think they are the auto win condition that a lot of people have been thinking they are. They're good, sure. Their offensive output is kind of scary, especially with the +1 damage strat and stuff like that. And when I'm talking about 8-bound, by the way, I'm talking about 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound as an umbrella at the moment, because a lot of hype for the last sort of, at this point, 3 days has been you take 3 lots of 6 8-bound and you take 3 lots of 3 Exalted 8-bound, and that's the start of any list you build. You put Invocatus in, you pre-game move 2 of the squad's normal 8-bound. Don't do that. I'm not saying they'll get nerfed. They may not get nerfed. Their offensive output is really strong, but again, they have to get there. Invocatus makes that a lot easier for particularly the normal 8-bound, and then the theory is that while your opponent's dealing with the first wave of 8-bound, the Exalted 8-bound get in, and they're pretty killy as well, and they're 4-up invuln. My concern is that at the end of the day, they are toughness 5 bodies with a 3-up, 5-up, or in the case of the Exalted, a 3-up, 4-up. They are possessed, basically, and possessed die, like, real fast. Anyone who's run possessed as part of Chaos Space Marines, they die. Like, as I say, real fast. And we don't have Armor Contempt now, which means the Invuln plays a bit more of a role, but it's still a 5-up or 4-up if you're Exalted. I think they might have been overhyped a little bit. They are undeniably strong, and once they get there, they will kill what they touch. Mostly. But I think they've been overhyped a little bit. that said, there's some stuff around no falling back and shit like that you can. Exalted you can't build around, but Angron, if you want to run Angron, that means you're not doing the pre-game move, and that means you don't get the guaranteed fallback, all of that stuff. It's both ways. I would be cautious about buying 9 boxes of 8-bound and spending, at least in the UK, that's like nearly 300 quid. I'd be cautious about spending that much based on knee-jerk internet reactions, is all I'm saying. I've rambled a lot. So in terms of my stuff going forwards, as I mentioned, I've got GT on the 18th. I'm working on a list for that. I have, at this point, 3 variations. One is with Angron and one is without Angron. I am now looking at with Baby Knights and without Baby Knights. So I ran Executioners in my one game with Codex last week, and they were just sort of whelming. It was a small sample size, so it was only one game, and it was into Grey Knights, who don't have armor contempt, so in theory it was like exactly what they were designed to kill. And they just didn't really kill that much. I don't think I played them that well, but they just didn't, like, when I did shoot them, they struggled to kill stuff. Which might have been bad rolling, but like, if bad rolling happens in a tournament game, I don't really want that to like screw me. So I've been thinking about the meta a little bit, and sort of with the advent of T8 guard tanks, T8 gladiators being very cheap as well, which I'm seeing in my future, I'm looking at Worthy Offerings Brigands now. So Worthy Offerings is +1 to hit against vehicles, characters, monsters. And the second bullet point is like if you have a favoured blessing, you kill one of those vehicle, character, monster, and you count as favoured, which is fine. Like I've got I'm looking at running Mirror of Fates on one of them, which is the 5-up steal a command point thing. So when your opponent still uses CP, you roll a dice, and on a 5-up you get 1, limited to 1 per battle round, which is fine. Just a nice way of generating extra CP. And I think the favoured thing is change 1 dice to a 6, which is nice, especially on Brigands. So Brigands are the chain cannon and thermal spear ones. And if the 6 applies to damage roll, which it may, and I can't remember off the top of my head, then that's pretty nice on a melter gun. A 30-inch range, strength 9 melter gun. So yeah, strength 9 on a melter gun into T8. I'll take it. And then 12 shots on the chain gun is also pretty nice. So I'm probably, if I run Baby Knights, I will run Brigands, 2 of them probably, and one of them will have Mirror of Fates. I am still deciding on Angron versus not Angron. I'm on GW terrain, so I'm not sure. He survives some matchups, especially if I'm doing well towards the end of the weekend into things like Guard and Votan. I don't think he survives that long, and I don't think he even draws that much fire. But we'll see. I have... So, release date is on the 11th. At the moment, all the important stuff that I need for the tournament is due on the 11th. I have the 13th to the 17th off work, so the week Monday to Friday off work, to get stuff built and painted. We'll see. I've been talking to Dara about how I'm going to paint my Angron. I don't want to do like a red and brass color scheme. Anyone who knows my army, I do the heresy scheme, and I want something that suits that, but I'm not really sure how to. So if anyone has any suggestions, particularly skin color, I'm looking at doing like blue shoulder plates and white armor panels, but still with the trim. So if anyone has suggestions on what I should do for skin color, at the moment I'm thinking either like a charcoal grey, a really dark red, like really dark almost black red, or like a reddish purple sort of color, but I'm not sure, and I'm bad at color theory, so guide me. Yeah, and then yeah, I've got a fair amount of stuff to paint. Angron's bare minimum. I have possessed that I can use as 8-pound if I need to. I'm probably only running like 2 squads of 3 8-pound and maybe a squad of Exalted, and then just loads of Berserkers, but we shall see. Yeah, so just going on to the last section then, because I've rambled a bit there. The great game. Still waiting for our post-Codex bump, obviously, because I think it'll probably be the weekend of the 18th will be the first week, if it happens, and that will depend on TOs allowing the new book. So this week World Eaters are at 196, which means we are not really growing as a player base at the moment in terms of competitive events. Emperor's Children at 277, so still growing fairly steadily. Thousand Suns are at 1,191, continuing to grow as well. Death Guard currently in the lead at 1372, so they are growing, still growing the fastest as well. Kind of to be expected. Thousand Suns and Death Guard are way more established and have their own rankings, so yeah, there's going to be an element of people playing World Eaters and listing as CSM, possibly. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, yeah, when the new book comes out, there'll be a lot more people listing as World Eaters, and that we'll see the population, or the trackable population, grow quite quickly. Yeah, so if you haven't joined the Discord already, join the Discord. The one true World Eaters Discord, the best World Eaters Discord, all that good stuff. Just when you join, just make sure you @ Dara and ask where his Mortals army is, because I hear he loves that. Also, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps the channel out. We unfortunately did not get preview copies of stuff this time around. We didn't get any of the models early either, and I know Dara would have loved to get his hands on a copy of Angron. So, like, commenting, subscribing, sharing with your friends. That's a good way to help us grow and maybe get advanced looks at stuff in the future. But with that said, yeah, stay healthy, stay safe, until next time.